it just really proves the value of this integration and how well companies can work with each other. They've been really good with us. First, I want to give you a quick overview of what OnFarm is, kind of from a conceptual level, and why we even exist, how we work with growers. And then we can jump in, and I'll take you through a demo of the software and show you the feature set and talk about some things that are in the near future also. If you've got any questions, I think there's a chat window you can type in. Please feel free to do that. Michael, give me the questions, and at the end, we can get into a broader Q&A session. So we move on. So really what OnFarm, how OnFarm came to be is we were working with a sensing company, both the founder of OnFarm and myself. We're a company similar to Ranch Systems, where we saw this issue that growers were starting to get data from a lot of different places. It was becoming a challenge to manage. And the data itself can become cumbersome to use. So OnFarm really started off as a way to answer and solve that problem. So if you look at this example here, and you guys are probably all familiar with this kind of stuff coming in, you're getting data from a lot of different places. You may get a weather report by calling the weather service, or a fax. I know some people are still using fax machines. Satellite imagery may come to you as a PDF file, an email. A lot of times you've got people in the field that are collecting manually collected data off of devices in the field, or like pressure bomb data, where it's manually collected. Usually it's put into a notebook, never to see the light of day again. Never comes off the dash or the pickup. Or like what Ranch is doing with pump control and soil moisture data. And we're trying to get you past that, where it's easier to manage all that, and get it into one place. This is an example of pretty common field where we're pulling data in from all these different devices. We've got data coming from Agrin, in this case for crop protection data. Manually collected data, in this example, it's a diviner site. So somebody's going out in the field and pulling that diviner data in, and then bringing it back into the office to degree day models, Bloomcast models, different types of models, or weather that comes in from a weather service. So our goal is to bring all those into one. So rather than having 5 or 6 applications running, you can integrate it into one place. And we work at a user level. So each individual user can set up their own dashboards, and they can look at the data that they want to look at. So in a larger operation, you may have field managers that are responsible for particular parts of the operation. They don't have to look at everybody else's data. They can have a view set up the way they manage. But the manager may want to see an overview of the whole operation, so they can pull it all together. And then the integration portion is where we're starting to pull them in from different sources. So if you have Ranch Systems data, you can pull that in, but you may have some legacy systems from another hardware platform. It solves you from having to use 2 programs to look at that. You may still go into Ranch's software to do advanced level things. We're more of a overview place, where we don't really remove the need for the parent application completely, but we're a place to get an overview of everything going on. Other areas, mapping, we've bundled the Esri mapping engine in the back end of our application. So for mapping, for satellite imagery data, for soil type data from USDA, that's available within our mapping engine. And then public weather data. We've got a lot of operations that they have their own weather stations, but they want to know what the weather conditions are in different parts of the state. So we have all in California, all of the CIMA stations built in, and you can just add that in as a widget. And then some things I want to give you an update on coming up in the very near future, some new tools. We as a company deal only with software, so 100% of our focus is around software development. And we have a team of 9 people doing that. So it's nice that we're constantly bringing new feature sets into the application. It's exciting as a person on the ground to have that available to me. So some of the new things we've got coming is we have a new chart tool all around plant available water. So if you manage that way, it's a much more powerful tool where you can bring in soil data and chart based on the soil data. So if you want to manage to a MAD level, it's a much easier way to do it. Growth and pest models, we have a tool coming in the next few weeks that will allow you to build your own growth models as well as pull from an inventory of growth models within the system. Same with pest models. We've got a number of operations that have developed their own models, and the tool is flexible enough to allow you to build the model. And then you can share it only within your team, or you can publish it to the public, either way. And then another new tool is advanced irrigation scheduling. We built a tool that will use forecasted ET data. We're doing irrigation scheduling. So not historic ET data or current ET data, but a forecast of ET. And then a tool important in California, we're working with the state on a water use report that will meet their standards. I think this year that's going to be a bigger issue, and the state's already said that they're going to require reporting around that. So we're working with them on that. And then labor tracking in the field. We're starting to look at more tools. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, the water use report sounds really significant. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so we're in communication with the state so we meet the standard that they're going to have, but the state's going to start to require water use reporting. And it's similar to what happened in the pesticide application world, where you had to start reporting your pesticide use. It really became burdensome on the grower to do that. And then some software solutions came out to help address that, where they can auto-report. And that's what we're working on, to auto-report. So a grower can choose to have their report sent direct, and they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to stop what they're doing in their operation to manage it. So we're pretty excited about it. And it's an area you'll see more tools from us. Outside of the data integration area, we're going to have more tools just to help you as a grower. So we're collecting data from all these different sources that the farmers are using in the field, and it gives us the freedom to build those reports for them. So, and then labor tracking is another area in that space. We found a lot of our customers are challenged in the area of labor tracking. Maybe they have Excel spreadsheets to do it, or different systems. So we've partnered with another group to do labor tracking. And there'll actually be a phone app where you can log in a complete team. You can assign the team to particular tasks. You can log in individuals. It will produce a report to send out to your payroll system. It's a pretty nice tool. And then we just started development on new Android and iOS apps for all our stuff. So on those platforms, we'll have some tools to help with in-field data collection, that kind of stuff. So. And then on the integration side, currently we integrate with just over 40 companies. This is a list of some of them. this is a growing list. A lot of times if we work with somebody new that they have data coming in, we don't integrate, we just pave that relationship to make that happen. And in different regions of the country, there's different service providers than we have here in California. So some of these names you may not know, but it will be an always growing list. But it's getting very broad-based now.
So, Tom, I think it would be good to maybe elaborate what exactly integration means, and in terms of how it is off the shelf.
Yeah, so what we do on our integrations, we want to make it seamless to the user. So we work with different providers that are creating data. So in the case of ranch systems, you're creating data with your devices in the field. So we work with those providers. We write connectors to their data set. And every company is a little bit different. So how we connect with ranch systems is different than other telemetry companies. In some cases, we're pulling data where we go and we pull the data right off their server. Other cases, the data is pushed directly to us from the device in the field. So it's really different in between the different relationships. But to the user, it's seamless. So when you come on as a user with us, we take you through an onboarding process where we collect those different connections, who they are, and the authorization to get in to pull the data. And then we build that in the back end of the application. So you as a user don't have to deal with any of that. We do it transparently for you. So let me find my browser here. And if anybody has any questions, Mike, let me know, and we can move into a demo.
Yes. No questions so far.
Good. Good. Well, let me jump right into the software and kind of share how it works. So for us, we want to make your information available to you the way you want to use it. We don't restrict you to how it's displayed within our dashboard. So we work within a dashboard metaphor, and you can set up dashboards for however you want to manage. So in this example, this is for a particular ranch, and it's a high level of that ranch. And they're looking at a map of the property. They're pulling in some weather data. They have a soil moisture site they're looking, where they can look at the full profile of the soil moisture site with its pressure switch. They're pulling in some pressure bomb data that they're manually collecting in the field, some pesticide application data, and weather coming from a couple of sources. So this is ET data coming off a CIMAS station. And you'll see in the bottom corner of each window, it tells you where the data is coming from and when the last data pull was done. And we do that because each of our data partners pull on a different schedule, and we collect it from them on a different schedule. So we want you to know when it came in. Let me walk you through a few of these. So manually collected data, we allow you to enter the data right at the dashboard level. Very simple to do. We let you set up a management zone that you want to manage to. So in this case, they're interested in keeping their pressure bomb data between 10 and 15 bars. It's very easy to configure. We can just come in and set what those values are, and we can set up an alert to go out. You can have a text alert or email alert, and because I'm a user on this, my name shows up. I can just click that I want to get one, or I can add on the fly people to get those. We've got a lot of customers that have seasonal field staff. They don't need to have access to the software to get an alert. They can just add them in here as an alert subscriber. Close that down. Weather, we handle weather 3 different ways. We can pull weather off of your weather station in field. We can use public weather sources. In California, it would be CIMAS. Or we have virtual weather where we're pulling in data that's triangulated weather data where they factor for topography and it builds a forecast. And that's what this is the example of. So weather we handle a few different ways. But let me show you how, when I say dashboard, how simple it is. I'm going to make a new dashboard. We'll call this Ranch. And now we have a blank slate. And you could set this up for whatever you want to have on it for data. It's as simple as coming in to add some data. We're going to pull some sensor data. It'll give you a list of all the stations that are collecting data, the field locations. So we'll grab this almond block. And then any hardware or data sets for that block show up. And then all the sensors on it. So if I wanted to get a root zone sensor, we'll grab a 24-inch, pick a small one. And we've got data for it. If I wanted to look at a profile of that, because this happens to be a profile probe, I could choose multiple depths, however many I want of that probe. This has got a lot of them. I think it's a 15 sensor probe. And now we're getting a profile where you can scroll through the profile, or you could actually choose to make it a little bit larger widget and see the whole profile in one view. Very, very simple to use. Same thing with mapping. We're going to add a map. We'll grab that same block. And we've got a map of the field. So our growers tend to set dashboards up on a few different ideas. They'll set them up by subject type. So in this case, they're looking at their soil moisture only for this block. And it's going to go out and pull all this data in. You'll see a lot of field gauges. So they've established management zones that they want to manage to. So even though these are all individual profile probes, they've chosen to only look at the top 24 inches. So we've built a sensor. We built what we call a composite sensor of the top 24 inches. This here on the right is if you wanted to see what a whole profile probe would look like. But they've set this up so they manage water in the top 24 inches, and they've set management thresholds for each. So they know where they're at any moment without having to go through full screen charts on that. If they wanted to view a full screen chart, they can pop that up. And this is going to go out and pull a month's data in this view. And now you can really dig in if you want to dig in and look at detail more closely. We've got a lot of flexibility in this view. You can set the chart up to group it. So all the data shows in a group. You can change the size, the date range. You can drag the date range, a different date range. A lot of flexibility here. If you want to add sensors in that you didn't build, we've got them all for this one, but you could add them in. So a lot of flexibility in the chart. So that kind of gives you an overview of the dashboard. Let me show you some other functionality.
That's very impressive, Tom. You know how easy it is to configure a dashboard. It's very intuitive. And
it's fun to watch how people build dashboards. We have one operation. When I worked with him, his dashboards were Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I asked him, I said, why are your dashboards on dates? And he said, well, I manage that way. On Monday, I want to look at the fields I work with on Monday. On Wednesday, I want to look at those fields. And I thought, what an interesting idea. Because normally, as a software company, we're kind of forcing on you how we think you should look at things. And having this open interface has really afforded people to do it the way they really work. And everybody's different. So a few of the other little tools are, this is a conversation tool where you can actually leave notes between users. And for the whole operation, you can actually drill down to the ranch level if you want to tie it directly to one of the blocks, or you can do it at the top level. You can use tags. So here there's different tags that have been used, so like leaks and repairs. The benefit to the tagging is then you can filter out other things. So you can say, I only want to look at pressure bomb data, or I only want to look at stuff for this particular user. So the tagging language helps us do that, and you can create tags on the fly. We've also moved that module so it's full screen. We started to get a lot of use on it, so people wanted to see it full screen, so it's a little easier to use. Then we have a mapping module that this last fall, we kind of destroyed the mapping tool we use, and we replaced it with Esri. And I don't know if everyone's familiar with Esri, but they're kind of the leader in the GIS space for mapping tools across multiple industries. It's a very, very powerful engine, and it will afford us to do a lot of layering. So here we're going to pull up the USDA soils layer. So you can see all the soil structure on these properties, and you can even drill down and see what the classes are and everything. We're starting to work with bringing drone data into this with a couple of partners. So if you're using their drone data, you can actually pull the drone data into it.
So Tom, that's well, Esri is certainly, I think the leader, best-in-class solution for mapping. How does that work? Is it do you license their software?
Yes.
Yeah,
we license the Esri software. We fired up to date. We fired up 2 Esri servers. We're going to fire up a 3rd, and to the end user, they're benefiting from that. They just get it as part of their subscription. And we cover the license fees on our side. And to a user, if you were to purchase a license for Esri, it's an expensive license for a single user. So a lot of operations aren't harnessing the power of it. And granted, we're not exposing all the functionality of that license, but really the functionality that ag users would use. So it's a pretty good deal for our customers.
And then you provide your a UI for setting up the layers.
Yeah. So here, let me go to that.
How it works?
So to configure your maps, we'll drill into this. And we can actually go down to the block level. And here, if you wanted to come in, it tells you your acreage, but if you wanted to edit this, you can edit within the application. We've got a few cool little tools around this. So here's the block we're working with. Now we're just going to delete that. Let's remove that. We'll redraw it. So there's a number of ways you can draw it. You could draw it manually. Draw the block out. I'll do a sloppy job. But you draw the block manually. Or I didn't do a very good job of that, so we'll choose another way to do it. We'll delete it again. We've embedded a database of all ag field boundaries for the U.S. So this is going out and it's pulling that database in. You can see the yellow lines drawing in.
Wow.
So these are all the boundaries. So if I want that block, I can just select it, save it, and now I didn't even have to draw the block. It did it for me. So it's done. So a very fast way to draw your boundaries. You can print your maps from here. So we'll print this out, and this little icon is starting to spin. Now it's out building a map file, and when it's done, it'll give you a download link, and now you've got a drawing of that field map. Or you might want to draw the whole property. You might want a map of the whole property. We'll zoom in a little bit here. We can do the same thing for the whole property.
Now, is it through this mapping interface that you would bring in the NVDI data?
Yeah, so we're just starting to work on the NVDI data with 2 data partners, and it would come into this mapping interface as a layer. And you could turn the layer on and off. With a timeline of the time period you want to pick from. One of our partners is doing weekly flyovers, so you would have a timeline so you could go back in time for different weeks and look at it. So that's in process right now. We're pretty excited about that.
That sounds like a terra avion.
It is, actually. It is. Another tool we have is our scheduler. This scheduler replicates the whiteboard that's in lots of offices. So you can do it at a block level, or you can roll them up and not do it in such density. And it's really a place for operations to schedule things and share it with their team. So we'll go to a week that's got some scheduled events. I apologize, this is a demo site, so I have to maintain the schedule for my imaginary site. So I fall behind. But so here in this, just give you an example, we'll take this harvest event. Well, if it got scheduled in this block where we're irrigating, so we're not going to harvest in that block, it's not going to work. So you can drag it to another date that would be more appropriate. That might be a spray event. That's a really common thing where the PCA wants to do a spray. They don't talk with the irrigator, so they schedule a spray event while an irrigation's going on. That doesn't work. So the idea of this whiteboard is to help ease those conflicts. We've got one group up in Washington State. They have this up on an 80-inch monitor in the break room. The secretary maintains it. Nobody can mess with the schedule. She's the only one that can change events, but they can all see it in one place. So they even use it to schedule their company meetings, safety trainings, that kind of stuff. So and then one new tool we just added in is a crop configuration tool. We'll drill down to where I've got some data in here. This lets you set up how those blocks are set up. So you can track the planting dates, harvest dates on field crops, do inventories on what you have. So in this case, this is an almond block. There's 3 varieties planted in the block. Let's go up a level here. We'll see if we can see the whole level. You can do it by year. So in the case of field crops, so here we can see all our blocks. I've only populated one of them, this one, but you can see all my varieties. that I've got planned and what percentages there are. Let me see if I can find my field crop here. 1 second. I can't remember where I put it. But we've been getting a lot of calls for this, especially in the row crop area where you want to track crop rotations. In particular blocks, you might plant a different crop next year, what we have in it last year, those kind of things. So it's a new tool for us. I'm having a little delay here. I apologize for this. I'm sitting in my back.
I was just going to say this definitely looks like a useful tool.
Yeah. I'm sitting in my backyard, so I think maybe my internet had a little pause there for a second. We'll reload it here. Let me just stop it. There we go. There we are. Sorry for that. I must say that working in your backyard is a nice way to spend a Friday afternoon. So. Even though your internet might go down for a second.
Yes, you're eliciting envy in the audience.
Yeah. So that gives a quick overview of a lot of functionality. The dashboards, like I said, are totally configurable. You can move them around, restructure how you're looking at your data. I don't know how many users are using Agrium for pesticide application, but here I just popped up the use report for that rec. This is a really common thing where the PCAs usually are the ones that are creating the recommendation. It can be a daunting process if you're not familiar with it. A lot of times the grower just wants to see what the rec is. You know, you as a manager, you just want to see the rec. So we link right into the Agrium database to pull that rec up. So.
Well, that's a great overview, Tom. Oh, did you want to? There's more.
Yeah, I was just pulling up a full screen chart. This is weather data, so you can see the green band is forecast, and then the transitions where we're at right now. But it's how we manage weather forecasting data, so a different way to view it. So, yeah. So, no, I think that's an overview. And any questions from anybody?
Yes, let's open it up for questions and use your question dialog box. Meanwhile, let me just. I'm going to launch people writing their questions. I'm going to launch a brief poll here.
Good.
So if you're interested in a follow-up from either Ranch Systems or On Farm, just or not, just let us know. Thanks, Tom. That was great. It's been a while since I had exposure, and that you guys have made tremendous progress over the last year.
Thank you. And like I said, that's our team's desire as a development team. We're a nonstop shop. We're constantly developing new tools. It's really fun. As you integrate more and more data types, we're finding new areas that we can link the data together to get bigger answers, and it's really enjoyable.
Okay, I think we've giving people an opportunity to respond to a poll. I'm going to close that, and let's go to see if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, so those of you out there, this is your opportunity to ask Tom anything about on-farm and any regarding anything he presented or didn't present. We'll wait a few more minutes, Tom, but it looks like you must have done a very good job in your presentation.
Oh, great. If anybody wants to see anything deeper in the app, I can pull that back up too. So.
We'll wait another minute or so. In the meanwhile, let me thank you, Tom, for taking the time to share this overview with with our network out there, our various customers,
very welcome.
And people that are following us. I think it's just a great adjunct where you're adding you're kind of picking up where we leave off, and really providing the tools for a ranch or farm management to manage his oil operation.
And that's really our goal, is to really help where you leave off and take it from there. So.
Well, again, doesn't look like there's any questions. So thanks again, Tom. Thanks again, everybody, for
thank you, everybody.
And the session has been recorded, and we'll be emailing you a link to the recording when that gets posted on our website. Thanks again, and everybody have a great holiday weekend.
Yes. Thank you all.